The country comes to grips with a tragedy at one of the island's secondary schools. That's the story we're tracking in this Barbados Today Evening News Update for Friday, November 8th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Frenella Wedderburn. A 16-year-old student lost his life after being fatally stabbed by another student at the Frederick Smith Secondary School. Police report that the tragedy stemmed from an altercation between the two. The school was immediately dismissed and counselors were summoned to provide assistance to students and staff members. Education Minister Cynthia Bradshaw and senior education officials visited the schools and met with the parents of the deceased student and staff of the school. She later told the media she was deeply saddened by the turn of events.
This is a very difficult time, not just for the school and the staff who I had the opportunity to speak with at length. It is also very difficult for the family at this time. Death is a difficult thing generally, but when somebody loses their life in this tragic way, words cannot even begin to express how certainly I as Minister of Education or any of the persons who have been here this afternoon feel about what has transpired.
The Frederick Smith School will remain closed until further notice. Minister Bradshaw assured that the ministry will do all in its power to return the school to normalcy, and she urged Barbadians to desist from casting judgment at this stage. She expressed concern about the violence in schools, but said the incident is a reflection of what is happening in society.
A child obviously coming to school as a student had in his possession a weapon and was able to use a weapon to the detriment of a young man to lose his life. I believe the reflection is on society, not just our parents who are obviously perhaps sometimes not as vigilant in these times in terms of checking to see what children are taking to school. But also it is a reflection of society at large, because school is a small environment, but it's often a reflection of what is happening in wider society. And I know that we have offered the support to the school and to the support staff, but it is clear that we're going to need to have to ramp up additional resources in relation to not just this plant, but obviously a number of the other school plants across the island as well. I don't think this is a time for finger pointing, but I do feel that it is a condemnation on an entire society that this young man has lost his life here today. Those who perhaps could have done more and didn't do more, those who didn't respond as quickly as they could have, and to be able to give the support and the interventions that perhaps were needed.
The Barbados Secondary Teachers Union and the Barbados Union of Teachers said the horrific tragedy must never be allowed to happen again. President of the BUT, Sean Spencer, told Barbados Today that the entire teaching fraternity has been shaken by the incident. He again appealed for violence in schools to be addressed.
The matter has been drawn to the attention of both administrations, current and immediate past, and heard the urgency has not been seen. Right. I on record, they don't want to look at old papers, but there is an abundance of local studies reports which would have sought to provide recommendations, and these are things that would have had a factual basis on the necessary groundwork. And if you're looking at local parties, you should look at local solutions.
BSTU President Mary Redmond says Barbadians can no longer afford to bury their heads in the sand as it pertains to the issue of school violence, and stressed the need for decisive action. In other news this Friday, police destroyed a large quantity of illegal drugs this morning. Police Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Rodney Innes spoke to reporters on location. He made it clear that police will be relentless in the fight against illegal drugs.
We continue to see the influx of drugs in our country. If it's making a dent, we will continue to fight as a police force as part of our job to really eradicate the process. Some persons have been commenting about the legalization. At this stage, having growing marijuana is still illegal in Barbados, and the Royal Barbados Police Force have a responsibility to do the necessary. It's still a crime, and persons will be charged for harvesting or transshipment of drugs wherever it's discovered.
With the scale of majority shares of the CIBC FirstCaribbean International Bank to the Colombia-based Gilinski Group, a local finance and banking expert is predicting that some major changes could be on the cards. That's the view of University of the West Indies lecturer in banking and finance, Jeremy Stephen. Today, the Toronto-based Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce announced that it has agreed to sell majority of its shares in the Barbados headquartered CIBC FirstCaribbean to GNB Financial Group Limited, which is wholly owned by the European-based Stamites Corporation, the financial holding company for the Gilinski Group. The deal is said to be worth approximately $797 million.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Craft Center. Kick off the weekend this Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight with loads of food, drinks, and entertainment. Get ready for Crop Over with the Rhythm Roots Street Parade. Party like it's Kadooman Day on the street around Pelican Village with costume reveler, music, and more. It's Festive Friday. It's Festive Friday at the Bridgetown Night Market at Pelican Village Center from 4 p.m. to midnight. Admission free.
To regional news now, there's concern about mounting cases of human trafficking in Jamaica. More in this report from Television Jamaica.
A $9 billion illegal trade. But where Jamaica stands in that is still unknown. But while human trafficking is growing on a worldwide scale, Jamaica's Governor General, Sir Patrick Allen, is calling for more to be done to decrease the number of cases island-wide. Speaking at a Trafficking in Persons symposium in St. James recently, he pointed out that, to date, over 80 persons have been rescued by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons. Sir Patrick highlighted the need for serious efforts to tackle human trafficking as it can be detrimental to the country's economic growth. This on the background of a report tabled last July by the National Rapporteur on Trafficking in Persons, Diane Gordon Harrison.
That 138-page report is an eye-opening document which highlights the enormity of the situation that faces us in Jamaica.
He says despite the laws which have been instituted since 2007, greater work is needed.
According to the Global Slavery Index, Jamaica is ranked 117 out of 167 countries and has a Tier 2 rating. So therefore we are of the understanding that human trafficking is prevalent. It is the third largest criminal activity in the world.
On the international front, Burkina Faso is on edge after unknown gunmen killed 37 people in a mining convoy in what has been described as the country's deadliest attack since an upsurge in jihadist violence, which began 5 years ago.
A bullet-ridden bus is still sat near a gold mine in Burkina Faso after an attack there on Wednesday saw at least 38 people killed and scores injured. Distraught families urged authorities to let them see their deceased loved ones, frustrated at the lack of information about their family members. Militants ambushed a convoy of 5 buses on a road leading to the Boungou mine, operated by the Canadian company Semafo. Visiting the site, Burkina Faso's Defence Minister Moumina Sharif Sai said that some workers were still unaccounted for.
The
death toll is provisional. We know that there is now 38 dead and 63 wounded, some lightly, others seriously. Those are the figures we have for the moment.
Certains légers, d'autres graves. Voilà un peu les chiffres que nous avons pour le moment.
Our troops are on the ground because some people are missing, some of them are miners. In any case, we're still searching for mine workers.
Qui sont portés disparus, donc quelques miniers, en tout cas des travailleurs de la mine que nous sommes en train de rechercher.
It's still unclear how many people were in the convoy, but sources have said it left weekly, carrying about 250 staff, usually in 5 buses of up to 50 to 60 people. Burkina Faso has suffered homegrown insurgencies for the past 3 years, largely amplified by a spillover of jihadist violence from its northern neighbour, Mali.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay, at supermarkets and gas stations near you, and you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Good evening.